good. It's supposed to be even 13 degrees cooler today, so we've had a dip. We had 85-degree weather 2 days ago, then it went down to like 71 2 or 3 days ago, and today's supposed to be even cooler with a possible chance of rain. Are we doing lit row? To my left, who I didn't notice right away. So, anyway, so she didn't know exactly which way I went. It's a whole thing. Supposedly I used to, every morning, super early. I think Starbucks used to open at 4:30. Way back. Some of them still do. And I would show up here about 5 o'clock. And there would be no one out here. This is, dead of winter, and I would show up here to this building to the right, 1820 South Rittenhouse, and I walked a dog there 3 times a day for most of my time with that client. So, one of the wealthiest men had a condo on the top of that building. Perlman, Ray Perlman. You can look him up, Perlman Holdings. His name is on the hospital buildings and stuff over in West Philadelphia in the medical center area, whatever you call it. And P-E-R-L-E-M-A-N or P-E-R-E-L-M-A-N. I forget if the E is before the L or after the L. There's no A in Perlman. And according to online sources, his family was worth $18 billion, that's with a B, dollars. He passed away after, was he 100, 101? He made it past his 100th birthday, that's what I know. Just to stick it to everyone, I guess. Cause, they used to have articles, out there in the newspaper, Philadelphia Magazine. And the whole thing would be like how there's a cantankerous relationship between him and his sons and this, that, and the other. I don't know how true they were. Sometimes if you have money, you might have to create a little bit of a fabricated existence just for safety's sake. So I kind of wondered if it was true. I used to run into Ray Perlman. He was in a wheelchair whenever he was at that location. I think they had like 3 steady properties. So this was one of them. Then as snowbirds, they lived in West Palm Beach, Florida. So during winter and everything and whatever, Hanukkah, whatever, they'd be down there. And they also had a Jersey Shore residence, I believe, as permanent, as like more, they had so much money. I'm kind of curious, like what they owned and everything. Anyway, they would be there for several months, during, spring, summer, I guess. I kind of forget their exact schedule. And I would see him on the elevator with his sort of entourage. So he had got security and, also, that's right, he had I guess an assistant. I don't know if he was considered a caretaker or an assistant. Richard Voorhees. I loved him. And really nice guy. And he didn't do the walks. Like when the entourage walked Ray Perlman in the wheelchair, Richard wasn't usually included in that group. So I don't know, Richard had a different role. So they would come out, wheel around. He had a hat, sort of like my dad used to wear, one of those golfer Gilligan style hats, like Gilligan from Gilligan's Island. He wore that, and see him in the elevator, and because he had so many people in his entourage, sometimes I would just wait for the next elevator or what have you, and not pile on with him. It was kind of awkward. So a lot of these buildings, the elevators aren't exactly huge, so it can get really uncomfortable and everything. Borrow Mini or whatever. over on this Italian restaurant. It's been smelling like spaghetti and meatballs, but all the way on the opposite side of this massive corner, down by Locust and 17th, it kind of smells like spaghetti and meatball central. So I kind of wondered, like, why it was so spaghetti and meatball-ish over there. I didn't see anything on the ground, no spaghetti stains. So I'm not really sure where it was coming from. Usually it does not smell like Italian food in that corner. Anyway, Food Fest, the Fillmore, November 15th. That's good to know. I had the weirdest dream last night. Help me analyze it. That's part of the digital billboards, which is interesting because I have actually had weird dreams lately. So like kind of more nightmares. I've talked about them on my YouTube videos. Oh, look at this, you know, downward dog cat with an angel. Wait, how cute is that? Got a big one up here. So that's cute. I'm curious. I feel he loves to send messages through objects, so I'm kind of curious what it means. The interesting thing is I really want a cat, at least a cat. I really want a cat and a dog, but I need to be in a more secure position to... I would love to have a condo or a home, something that I can own long term. And also, I don't have kids, but I do have family members. You know, my sister had 3 kids, and then there's 2 grandkids off of that branch, if you will. And I would love to leave something behind. 2 people, since I never got to have kids, you know. And I've had sort of an odd journey. I would say never take up writing or journalism. I didn't have a journalism degree, I had a writing degree. That's how I got into school. I really didn't know. I didn't know what I would do. I just knew I was supposed to have a degree, and then you're supposed to have a better job. But it's like I didn't have a clear path before I got into school. And as they say, at least they did back then, a lot of people change their majors 600 times. Some people knew before they got into school, and maybe they worked in the field they already knew they'd be working in ultimately after a degree at a higher level. I didn't have that kind of, I had real problems. I didn't have that kind of privilege, if you will, no offense, but there were a lot of issues that went unaddressed. In Delaware, we had divorce, desegregation, and drugs as the introduction to my life, you know, in the early 70s. So these things are major things that can really shake children up and cause a lot of insecurities and a sense of feeling unsafe and untrusting. So it's hard to find a path and feel like, you know. And also I lived with my mom, and she had a high school education. My dad had a business degree, but from a small college, and it was strictly business. So there's a difference between a major university and a very specific discipline at a small school. Huge difference. So we are talking, you know, I kind of trudged through as the first person in my lineage to have a full-on